championships, man, it was like the best feeling like on earth. You're out there winning one year after the next after the next. I mean, I felt like a rock star, I'm not gonna lie. I was like on top of the world.
People call me crazy, an enigma, lost, all these things. And the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, that's not who I am.
Chamique coming forward and telling her story, speaking about something that people don't want to talk about, that puts a name and a face to the issue.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Tadevosyan and I will be your moderator today alongside with my colleague from World Learning, Vlad Spencer. I want to thank you for being here today with us. This program is part of the International Sports Programming Initiative, a State Department Sports Diplomacy Exchange Program implemented by World Learning. The webinar is produced by World Learning and Digital Communication Network, a coalition of digital influencers for improving the information space. Today, we will chat with our good friend, former WNBA player, six-time All-Star, World Cup and Olympic gold medalist, Chamique Holdsclaw. In 2018, Chamique was inducted into Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Chamique, thank you for being us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, everyone.
Sure, we are glad to have you here today. And I want to start with a question about how you started, why you chose basketball to be your sport and how it all started.
Oh, wow. I always say basketball kind of fell in my lap. At the time, me and my brother, we went to go live with my grandmother. We left a suburban area to go to inner city in New York City. And so, as you know, New York City, we like to say it's the Mecca of basketball, and there are a lot of outdoor courts. So I grew up with a very strict grandmother who didn't want me just hanging out on the corner or anything. I had to do things around discipline and structure. So the basketball court happened to be like right outside her window so she could keep an eye on me. So I would always go play. And I just loved it. But the odd thing was at that time, I was the only girl with a bunch of guys. And it was kind of tough because the other girls, they didn't get why I wanted to play basketball with the boys. So I was teased, I was bullied, but I loved it. So I would just continue to go out there and play. And then eventually I'm like, oh man, I'm better than a lot of these boys. and I would play on the teams with them as the only girl. So I would say I gained a lot of respect by doing that.
In the movie, there is a place where it said that you could be the face of, WNBA being kind of equal to NBA. So what do you think about this? Like, as you said, playing with boys and you understood that you were much better than some boys. So what do you think? Why still WNBA can be that one?
Oh, so being the face of coming into WNBA and being the face. Now, for those of you who don't know, I grew up thinking I'm going to be the first woman to play in the NBA because there was not opportunities at that time for women to continue professional sports in the United States, basketball. So I said, okay, I'm gonna, play for the NBA. So that was always my goal. So when the WNBA came about, I was really excited. It was during my sophomore year in college. So there was a lot of hype. You're seeing the mega stars, the Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Spooks, and Rebecca Lobo kind of be the face of it. And I was at that time competing at a really high level in college. And so my coach is like, that's going to be you. And so when I came to the WNBA, I became one of the faces of the league and got drafted first pick 1999 to the Washington Mystics.
And your number 23, I saw you played in high school, number 23, and in college. Right. So you chose it because of Michael Jordan, and then they named you Woman Michael Jordan, or it just because?
Right. So first in high school, I was always wanted to be like a big guard, right? So I always tell Magic Johnson was actually my favorite player. number 32. But what happened was in high school, the jerseys kind of went by size. So the number 32 was so big for me. So I went home crying. I was like, I can't get my number. And they actually gave me a number 23, right? So I go home and my grandmother said, okay, number 23 for Michael Jordan and for the 23rd Psalm, because she was a very spiritual a woman. So I said, you're right. And she goes, Michael Jordan is the best player. And I started to cheer up a little bit. And yes, I continued to pick number 23. But that was kind of hard, Anna, you know, because being considered the female Michael Jordan, because every couple years, they like to say, this athlete is the next Michael Jordan. But, you know, I consider it a compliment, I guess, because as we've seen with this documentary on ESPN, he is the greatest.
Yeah, he is. Truly. Okay, now I will give the virtual floor to Vlad to go through your life, basically.
Thank you, Anna. That's complicated. thank you, Anna, and thank you, Chamique. So, Chamique, you know that you are one of our favorite people. So I want to thank you not only for being with us, but also for being part of the exchange programs done by Sports Diplomacy. And I know that Ryan Murphy is also with us, the program officer from the State Department, so he's going to say a few words at the end, hopefully. We want to go, you know, more or less through your life, as Anna said, because we are trying to tell, you know, the power story of your tremendous success in basketball as a sports person, and your fight with mental disease, and how these two kind of interacted, you know, throughout your career. So one question I would like to ask you, because, you know, you talked about the beginnings, you talked about high school and the role that your grandmother played in your life. Were there any signs at that point, you know, during high school, that should have been, you know, worrisome or maybe addressed in relation to the you know, mental issue?
Yes, there were signs. My grandmother realized that I was dealing with depression from an early age. I think it was around 11 or 12. She took me to therapy. I was going through a major transition because I went to go, me and my brother were actually taken away from my parents because they were struggling with alcoholism. And we went to go live with my grandmother. So I was going through a bunch of emotions. Even though they're saying this household is dysfunctional, that's still my mom and dad. So emotionally, I was really like struggling. I was in a new environment, new school, new friends, and I would just really get depressed. And my signs early on were I wanted to like really always be by myself. I wanted to wear dark colored clothes. I would have temper tantrums, like bursts of anger. So I would like throw stuff across my room. And so I went to therapy around 11 or 12 years old. But culturally, I know in my household, and some people are different. It's like what happens in your house, like stays in your house, Vlad. You don't want to talk about like the bad things of your personal life outside. So I learned to keep things inside, not express myself. And so that kind of followed me throughout my life.
Yeah, in fact, it's something very common. That means, you know, it's getting a little bit better these days with young people, more awareness, you know, parents, you know, more concern. So do you feel a difference between, you know, the way that mental disease was dealt with at that time in your life and what is going on right now? That means in terms of awareness, acceptance, and actually, you know, trying to solve the issue.
Right. Yes, it's been a change. Mental awareness is such as a high right now. And the reason it's at a high is because we're kicking down stigma, and stigma, you know, we've changed this conversation about it due to the fact people are sharing. That's how we learn things about, you know, different cultures, different ethnicities, is by story telling. And I know for me, when I was going through it, when I was diagnosed with bipolar, I was like, oh my God, you know, thinking it's the end of the world. But I had to realize who's gone through this. It was Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones was my person because she had struggled with bipolar disorder and she would talk about it. And it's people like her that just inspired me to become a little more resilient in my own personal struggle.
Definitely. So before going to you know, the college you know, stage of your development and career, I want to you know, thank the audience for being with us. And if you guys have questions, there is a chat room. I don't know how experience you have with Zoom. So please ask the questions there. And towards the end of this presentation, we'll get the questions that will make it more interactive. So again, thanks for being with us. Now, college. So you went, to the team in Tennessee. It has been tremendous success. But one thing I would like you to talk about is your coach,
Right.
Pat Summit. And I know that she played a tremendous role in your life. But reading interviews that you gave, the beginnings were not so smooth. That means, so there was a little bit of friction at the beginning before becoming this amazing relationship that continued throughout the coach's life.
Right. It was a tough adjustment. First of all, I'm from New York City. So I'm going from New York City to Knoxville, Tennessee. The pace is definitely different. I think a lot of young athletes, when we pick our colleges, we need to be more aware as far as like research. I didn't realize that University of Tennessee was 98% Caucasian, 2% other. Coming from New York, I was used to a lot more diversity. So just like anyone, I go to this campus. It's a unknown environment for me in that sense, and so I'm trying to navigate. And I was getting homesick. I was stressed, going through a bunch of emotions. And I remember talking to Coach Summit, and she's like, "Don't worry, we're your family. You're gonna figure out what this sisterhood was about." And she taught me a good lesson. And she's like, "We fear the unknown. Sometimes we have to buy into it." And I really bought into it. And that family, that Tennessee, became my second family. But with Coach Summit, that woman is tough. And when I tell you, she got every bit of talent out of me that she could. And it wasn't always pretty. I mean, I didn't got kicked out of practice, clipboards thrown at me. But guess what? I walked away winning 3 out of 4 championships. And I walked away understanding when you step on that court, you step on that field, that's business. You're focused, you're locked in. Now, once you finish, she's going to hug you. She's going to support you. But it really prepared me for life, understanding, hey, when I'm at task and I have to focus on something, or I'm competing, or I'm in a position of leadership, it's about getting the job done. We can laugh and joke about things later.
She's an iconic figure in coaching. That means, and you, talked, so much about her, and you're in touch with her. What makes her like this? Obviously, you mentioned certain things, but what made her this coach that made a difference, not only in terms of success of that team, but in your life, not only yours, but players in general?
Well, I think the thing that when I talk to my other teammates and women that have passed through the University of Tennessee program playing for Coach Pat Summit, the number one thing is that she makes you understand work ethic. She worked hard. You saw it. She's always studying to be great. Number 2, I think why she has so much success and over, 37 years, I think she coached, is being able to understand basketball when you have a team of all different personalities, is understanding how to manage these personalities. Each kid is different, and learning how you treat everybody fair, but how you have to know how you're going to reach another kid versus another. And I think also a thing that made her successful is, understanding the equity piece as a woman. When she first started at Tennessee, she said, she was in a back room somewhere doing laundry, washing uniforms. She maybe had a budget of like $14,000 for the team and for herself. To know that her hard work, she always said, everybody works hard, but you have to learn how to also work smart. And also understanding the power of your voice. I was always very, very shy. I was a great talent, but very quiet and to myself. And she goes, like my grandma used to tell me, Chamique, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You have to speak up for what you want. And she was really aware of the different backgrounds of people that she brought together. She always said, hey, we're all different. We're all different journeys as far as our family and experiences. But hey, we're coming together. We're coming together for a common thing, and we're going to learn. So I was going home with people, you know, riding horses and, you know, taking rides to Florida to be with teammates to really invest in it. And that's what Coach Summit taught us. And I think that's why the women that have played for her are out there in the world doing some amazing things.
You shy, hard to imagine.
Yeah, very, very, very shy, very shy. But you know, you grow up, and I had to. It took me till I was like probably 30, and actually on one of our trips together, I think we were in, was it Colombia?
Yeah.
And Hazel, actually we were at we competed at the same time because she was at my rival school, Florida, University of Florida. I was at Tennessee, and you know, Olympic track athlete, comes from a pedigree of her sisters. And she told me, she goes, "Oh my God, Chamique, you have an amazing story." She goes, "It's so powerful." And she goes, "But you're so shy." She's like, "You have to claim your greatness." And so I actually learned a lot from her, and we remained friends. And again, that was sports. That was sports. It was impact work that we were doing over in Colombia. And look at that. I walked away, you know, I'm supposed to be out there giving to that community. I walked away with something. And that's what sports does for you.
Yeah, so we'll get back to Coach Summit because, you know, towards the end of her life, she was diagnosed with dementia, and the way that she dealt with, you know, it was important.
Mm-hmm.
But let's continue this journey throughout your career. So from college, professional. Yeah, so you're you know, selected by the Mystics in 1999, 98. You know, one thing I could tell you is that I was in Washington at that time, and we were extremely excited to have you because Washington teams don't win too often. So
Right.
so it was a good thing. But you know, you talked about in interviews about this idea of, you know, on one hand, the excitement of professional career with everything that entails, is a Nike contracts and your apartment, maybe. On the other hand, leaving back the comfort zone. You know, kind of the safety that you know, the security that both your grandma and Coach Summit gave you. So talk to us a little bit about that period.
Yeah, that comfort zone. People don't realize how important it is to kind of have that support system. So, like you said, here I am. You know, I grew up in a very disciplined environment with my grandmother, and my grandmother and Coach Summit did an exchange. You know, Coach Summit knew what my grandmother wanted. She had those same principles and led me. Now here I am now, you know, 21 years old. I've had such great leadership in my life. Now I'm thrown back in the city, you know, trying to navigate, you know, this newfound success, you know, the attention, the financial reward. And you can kind of get lost as a young person, you know, and I'm not saying lost in sense is like, you know, partying or, you know, buying all these expensive things or whatever. I'm saying lost in the sense of, you know, having that touchback, you know, when things are kind of stressed, you know, going and sitting, you know, in the room with my grandmother or going to sit in Coach Summit's office. I had to grow up really fast and learn a lot for myself, because unlike operating in a program, I'm saying a program like at a Tennessee or like my grandmother's household, professional sports is different. You know, here I am with women, you know, from age, you know, 21 to 35 or higher, you know, playing. You're going to have, as we saw in the Michael Jordan special right now, you have people on the team who can party like the Dennis Rodmans all night and show up and play. You have those who are not maximizing. So I had to get used to that. I was used to everybody being in, everybody being one, and it was just so many pieces. So I really struggled to try to bring that together. I think probably my third year there, and that's when I really started, you know, trying to create this environment of sisterhood and togetherness.
And the beginning of the Mystics, you know, it went very well. Now the Mystics, the Olympics, all these records that you set. So tell us a little bit about, you know, the professional career from a basketball perspective.
Oh man, it was great. I came in, I made my first year like all WNBA. I made you know, rookie of the year. So everything was going good. The Mystics won, I think, 3 games the year before I came. And so we won 12. It's an improvement. because as the number one pick on any organization, most likely you're going to the worst team. But one thing I can say is that DC, the fans were supportive. I know with the WNBA, sometimes for a lot of high-level collegiate athletes, the drop-off in attendance is can be pretty bad. In college, I'm having 20,000 people watch us sometimes on the average, 10, 11,000 people a night. But when I came to the Mystics, I didn't know what to expect. But DC, oh my God, we led the league in attendance. Thankfully to A. Poland, who was a great owner and community person, we would have like 12, 15,000 people coming to watch us play. So the excitement was there. But we just, kind of struggled at times to get it together.
I know, I was one of them. So, I watched the big games with you. So definitely you could come in. And so let's talk a little bit about the first kind of serious episode of depression, which came during your Mystics time. And you described it in many ways, in many places. But let's go a little bit through it, exactly what happened.
Oh, so I had lost my grandmother, and that was like my rock. That was my person, and I was just really in a dark place. I couldn't think clearly. I was having when I say an emotional stir, so I would have moments when I would just start crying, and I was dealing with this pretty much by myself. Because I didn't want my mom was sober at that time for years. I didn't want her to backslide and start drinking again. So I tell people, it's like I buried my grandmother and I buried my emotions. What I did not know at that time was about triggers. Because a year later, my grandmother, I buried her. I had my best WNBA season. I put everything into basketball, but I never dealt with the underlying emotional stuff. And that was like the grief and the pain that I was dealing with daily. So I had what they call like a situation and where trauma can come up later. So my grandfather passed away. And so it opened up like a bunch of stuff. I remember about to go hang out with my friends, and I pull over on the side of the road not far from my house, and I just start crying. Like I'm just mentally spun. Don't know if I'm coming or going. And I remember going to practice and telling them, hey, something's not right and whatever. And I lost track after that of like 3 days. And what happened was everybody's looking for me for what they told me. The team is worried. I had a manic episode, and so I was really in a dark place. And so most people would say manic episode. If you don't understand that, it's almost like a nervous breakdown. A little different, but it's almost like a nervous breakdown where I had suicidal ideation. So in my mind, I was thinking about taking my life. I didn't want to be here anymore. I remember wanting to be with my grandmother, and so this was my plan. And thankfully, when I was missing in action, one person had the keys to my house, and Coach Summit had flew there. She had got past my doorman. He let her. She said she was knocking. She knew I was in there, but I didn't answer. And my friend Dr. Greenfield actually was away on vacation. She came back, she heard the news, and she opened up the door. And that's when she got me out, got me showered, and took me to get some help.
So as a result of that, it's interesting. One thing that you wrote is that for as long as I remember, basketball had been my drug of choice. And it was like at that point, it wasn't enough anymore. So like you said that you kind of maxed out the dosage. So so tell us a little bit about how you felt, because this led to you leaving the Mystics.
Right.
And at some point you wrote, and this was actually interesting, to read, is that you wrote that was a big mistake actually to leave the Mystics in that type of circumstance. So tell us a little bit about obviously how you felt, that what led to that decision, and why do you think, if you still think, that it wasn't the good decision?
Well, first of all, like you said, sports for so long, even when I was going through my stuff as a youth with my parents, it's always been my coping mechanism. Like I could go shoot some shots. My grandmother taught me all that anger and frustration you feel, don't do nothing outside because someone might hurt you, but take it out in basketball. And so I did just that. So I know the joy, I know the balance that brought to my life. But at this point in time, the thing that always gave me that peace, it wasn't helping. Like I couldn't just go to the basketball court. These thoughts weren't leaving my mind. It caused me to become paranoid. So I'm thinking that my teammates know what's going on, with me. It forced me into isolation. And being young, I want to say being young, a lot of times when we deal with adversity, the first thing that we do, and it's people in general, but I'm speaking to my young self, is that, oh my God, you run away. You don't want to face it. And that's what I did. DC was willing to, the Mystics wanted me there. They was willing to work with me. They were made aware of everything that I was dealing with. But in my mind, I thought the grass was going to be greener on the other side. So I'm like, no, I don't want to be here anymore. And the reason I didn't want to be there, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was struggling with these things. Little did I know, if I would have had the courage at that time to really speak about it and to claim my truth, I could have made an impact. I'm in the most powerful place, right? We know a lot of decisions are made in DC. A lot of mental health organizations are based there. Imagine if I would have said that I was struggling with that, and been there. I could have really been in a position to help a lot more people early in my life. So I regret it. Those people, I'm still a fan of the Washington Mystics, and a lot of the faces are still there from when I played, as far as the staff, and that's my family, always will be.
And let's not forget that we are the champions now, yeah, domestics.
Right, right,
And
right.
we're still waiting for the parade, but unfortunately, coronavirus spoiled those plans. So we want to
Right.
hear. So then you moved to Los Angeles,
Hmm.
and in Los Angeles, again, great hopes. You're with other stars
Hmm.
in the team, and things went well. But then there was another episode. So you have a trip to the east.
Oh.
You visit with your father. You visit with your stepfather
Hmm.
has cancer. So that all this accumulation of pressures, from
Hmm.
within and from out, and then a crisis happens.
Right. And so, like, yeah, the crisis did happen. So, all right, we think leaving DC, right? We see palm trees. I'm living like 2 blocks from the beach. Everything is supposed to be great. I was an all-star that year, but I remember, my dad was struggling, or my stepdad was struggling with cancer. My dad was dealing with some mental health issues of his own. So, I asked to be excused. The league found it, or they're like, okay, you can go home and be with your family. So I went there, and again, something triggered within me, and I came back after visiting my family, and I just fell down that rabbit hole again. And I sat there in my apartment, and everybody knows, like, at that time we would have social gatherings. We weren't like super big drinkers or anything, but I just remember we had some Jack Daniels there. I remember looking on my counter, and so I was tired, and that's how I framed it in my mind. I was tired again. I wanted to be with my grandma. I overdosed on my brain medication, and chased it with the alcohol. And luckily, and I don't know if it's like was my cry for help, but somebody was watching over me, because I actually called the only person who had the key to my house, and that was the young lady who walked my dog. And she could tell when I called her to thank her for watching the dog. She said she could tell something was not right in my voice, and she made her way over to my place. And she realized this was a bad situation, got me to urgent care. Next thing you know, the urgent care doctor is freaking out, and he's like, oh my God, this is bad, we got to get you to the hospital. And I found myself now in the ambulance, headed to Centinela Hospital in Los Angeles. And it was, what I experienced was probably um, at that time, one of the worst nights of my life, because I overdosed on brain medication. So I'm having severe hallucinations. The cowboy with the lasso is chasing me. I'm in a dark in a place where I think I'm gonna die. I'm vomiting all over the place. They don't want to pump my stomach, so they're trying to give me the fluid to take. And I walked away from that. I remember the doctor saying it's going to be a rough night. We have to make sure she doesn't have seizures or anything. And when I woke up in this all white room, and I was in the VIP suite. You get it? VIP suite under suicide watch. And I asked myself, like, how did I get here? And I said, oh my God, if you get me out of this situation, I will use my voice to help others that are struggling like myself. And the doctor came in, Vlad, and he said, you're lucky. He goes, I don't know much about women's basketball, but I know who you are. And you can't let things get this bad, you know? And, but still, I was struggling. I was struggling with the fact, you know, and I talk to a lot of people who struggle with mental health concerns, and especially athletes. You know, we're used to being in control of our bodies, you know. I know how to get faster. I know how to get in shape. I know how to jump higher and the things that I need to do. And now these people are telling me, like, I'm not in control of, like, my head. Just chop it off. I'm not in control of my mind. It was really a struggle for me throughout my life, you know, until probably, you know, 34 years old, because a lot of times people who are on medication, and I had to take medication to stabilize. When you start feeling good, right? When you start, oh, everything's great, and you know the color comes back in life, we stop taking my medication. And so that's what I would do when I would go overseas. I'm like, oh man, new environment, I'm stimulated. So man, I don't need these pills, or you know, and then I would just sink down the hole again. And it was finally was like 2011, 12, man, after talking to Coach Summit and having the incident in Atlanta. Like, Coach Summit said, listen, like, you have to get healthy. She goes, your life depends on it. You know, everything that you've been through. And she was struggling with dementia. So there's this parallel, you know, both mental illnesses, right? Me and my coach. And her strength through her battle is helping me. You know, she's like, you got to hang around people that know your character, that know you. That's how you're going to get your life together. And I did just that. I actually moved back home to New York for a while. I was really around my community and the people that knew me. I started getting therapy regularly. I started taking my medication regularly. I wasn't in denial anymore. So, you know, we have adversity, you know, but, you know, we have that adversity happen in our life. You know, finally there comes this thing for me. It was like an acceptance, you know, like, okay, this is what I have to deal with, you know. I had to educate myself. I had to become aware. And when I started to step in that awareness, you know what? I had to take action. This is what I tell people. I'm aware now. I know what's going on. My mind is clear. I have to take action. That action was me waking up every morning, making sure I take my medication. Before I go to bed, taking my medication. And also going to therapy, learning how to talk about things. I used to think, oh my God, from movies and the way it was depicted, oh, if you sit on the couch, you're crazy. No, you're not. It's just a way for you to talk to somebody and not feel judged, you know? And I learned to really talk about things that I was stuffing inside. And let me tell you, everyone, my life just totally changed. And I'm so thankful for my support, because I damaged a lot of relationships when I was sick. I damaged relationships with family and friends. And to be in a place of clarity and to go and apologize, to work on those relationships, it was a humbling thing, you know. And I'm just happy that I've just been able to stay the course. And it's not just me. It's me when I go speak to these collegiate athletes, these young people, these companies. It's me being transparent. I put it out there, and just tell them how it is, and to see how they connect with me. And I always walk away like, they're always like, Miss Holdsclaw, oh my God, thank you. I felt the same thing. And thank you for helping me. And I'm like, no, this is a team thing. We're teammates. You may think I'm helping you, but you're helping me also. You're helping me find purpose. You're helping me just be my most authentic self and live in my truth. And so that's the thing with mental health issues, mental health concerns. A lot of times everybody wants to be on the medical sites, right? We Google stuff. Oh my God, I think I have this and that. And I always tell people, everybody on this call is mental health, right? It's just the thing is, some people it's seasonal. The weather can change. You can have a loss of a job or something, and you're trying to process, you're dealing with that stress, but as things start to change, it gets better for you, right? And then you have people on the other side of it that have a chemical imbalance. So the emotions can be all over the place. For me, myself, I suffer from bipolar disorder. So I have extreme highs where the highs, I'm the life of the party. I'm talking like 100 miles per minute. I'm really energized. But the flip side of that is great socially. Sometimes I come down. And when I come down, it could be, 3 or 4 days just wanting to be locked in a house, not really want to talk to anyone. So I know in my life, I have to make sure I take the medication, make sure that I'm practicing good habits. So example, it's coronavirus. We're dealing with it, everyone across the world. And here I am now in New York, and I'm in my house a lot, right? We're in the heat of it, and I'm a person that's on a go. So my life has totally changed, and I found my anxiety kicking in. Even though I know these healthy habits, I have to always tell people there's no such thing as a magic pill, right? Yes, I have to take the medication, but I also have to do the daily work. So fitness is for me, meditation, quiet time. Well, what do you say? Quiet time? We have a 5-month-old baby. Like, how am I navigating this? Well, I had to really get on a schedule, and I have to wake up 6 a.m. in the morning and make sure I'm the first one up. Make sure I have at least 2 hours to myself to work out, to read, or whatever. That makes me feel good. So I think a part of it is everyone out there, if you're going through these emotions, really try to say, all right, how am I spending my day? Am I getting fresh air? Is exercise going to help me? Just don't isolate yourself. Make sure you're hopping on some video calls to talk to a friend. Even if you have to go and be in chat rooms, you have to have some type of release, I would say.
Yeah. So one thing, before talking about the, what post-career meant for you from this perspective, I want to draw our audience attention to that moment where your friend found you when you overdosed, and because I had, when I was living in Romania, I had an exactly a similar experience with all my friends overdosed, and I found her, then I took her to the hospital, and how important it is to actually be aware of the situation for your friends, for the people that you know, because as you said, it's not rare. That means, suicidal tendencies do happen, and
Right.
those surrounding you need to be alert and need to be aware and need to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Right. For my friends, I think that opened a lot of their eyes, and it's just having honest conversations. And for me, being able to say, all right, I'm having a bad day, before I would keep it inside. I need to talk to you, or my friends know now, like, they take it serious. All right, let's go to the movie, or let's do something, let's communicate. But also I would feel sometimes putting that burden on them. You feel really bad, but these are people that like love you. And I would tell you, as a person that's talked to young people, and unfortunately you have a friend sometimes, and we probably can all relate to this in maybe different circumstance, that's, oh, I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to take my life. When people are constantly talking about this, take it very serious. I know of a situation where a young person got, with their best friend. Oh man, this guy is always talking about this. And the one time when he didn't take it serious, taking it serious, maybe if you're on a college campus or educational place, alerting, one of the higher ups that this person is dealing with this, whether it be a coach or a support system. As a friend, maybe going to be with that person and navigating that, because this guy, that one time he didn't want to take it serious, he lost his friend. And that pain, it's been probably 5 or 6 years ago, and he's carrying that every day. And it's just, offering support. A lot of times as a friend, I didn't want people to fix me. Those are the people that I ran away from, was like, trying to, you need to do this, you need to do that. The thing that helped me was when people say, you know what, I'm here for you. I love you. If you need to talk, I'm here. And that's when I saw the shift, because no one wants to feel like they're broken, and that's a big thing when you deal with people with these challenges.
Definitely. So again, the end of our story, and then we go to questions. So you played Atlanta Dream, San Antonio. You retired once. You came back. You played there in Europe, and then post career. So how this whole thing evolved, leading, as far as I understood, to the right diagnostic actually for you.
Right.
That was so important. You got the right medicine, and you got to exactly what you described a little bit earlier, this balance in life that
right.
How did you get there?
Oh man, just finally deciding to do the work, because I was challenged from people in my life, like, you don't want this up and down roller coaster. You're a great person and you give to a lot of people, and now it's like you're sitting on this island by yourself. This inconsistent personality. And so, I'm a competitor. I love to compete. I love to prove, people wrong. And I just wanted to be the best daughter, the best friend. I wanted my quality of life to improve. I knew how, even going out of my house, it got so bad where I would have like social anxiety. I didn't really like to be in crowds. And I'm like, this is not me. Like, I'm from New York. I'm used to being around a lot of people. And I just really humbled myself and did the work. And it's not easy, because you have to really I had to go through my life. I had to learn what peer support was. I had to go talk about these things around people I didn't know. That's a part of the healing process. And then that's when I realized something key. As much as we think that we're different, because I'm in that room, I'm like, I don't identify with these people. As much as we think we're different, we're the same. And once we realize that, a lot of things change for us.
Definitely. So now I think it's a shock for you to see New York almost empty, probably for the first time in your life. That's
Yes.
Life.
Yes. I just drove down to the city this past weekend. I just drove. I just was showing Kara around. Kara's my wife. I wanted to show her like New York, and she's like, "Wow!" As many times as I've been here, I've just never seen it like this.
Yeah, it's unique. So now let's go to Anna to see if you have any questions and
Okay.
any interaction with the audience. And again, thank you so much for sharing all these aspects of your life. It really makes a difference, both for people in this type of situation, but also people who have friends, people they know that might go through these struggles, because you are such an accomplished person and such an amazing person in many ways, and at the same time you won this battle with is probably the worst enemy that you could have, that was not on the court but rather in your life. So I think it's remarkable. So let's see Anna. So what do you have? Any questions?
We have some questions. We'll start with Deepika Deshwal. She's our friend from India, and she's asking about your best moments in your life. Which one is your best moment? Let's
My
talk about
best,
good
my,
time.
positive. My best moments. First of all, getting my college degree in 4 years from University of Tennessee. That was a highlight because my family is like really big on education, and my grandmother said, "You're not going anywhere if you're not going to graduate, and you can't take 5 years. You have to do it in 4, or else you won't be playing basketball if you can't take it serious." And so to accomplish that, for her to be there to give that to my family was amazing. Um, and secondly, being drafted number one, because the NBA offices are here in New York at WNBA. And so I got the opportunity to be drafted in my home state, my city. So that was really amazing to walk away from that situation and have your family and good friends who have supported you get to witness that. And I would say, lastly, like I've had like how basketball has given so many memories, but I would say becoming a mom, like I've always been great with children, but to have like your own and experience that daily, it's life changing. I'm realizing different things about myself, and I'm glad that I'm experiencing this in a good mindset. You know, being healthy, because it's so joyous.
Yeah, he's this very cute baby. I'm
Oh,
full of
thank you.
yeah, he's amazing. We have a question from I know that you remember our friend Hisham from Casablanca. I'll see if
Oh
he
yeah.
yeah, if he can ask his question himself. Hisham, can you please unmute your microphone and ask your question? Mhm. Oh,
Hi, hello
hi,
everyone. Hi, Kimika.
hi,
How are you doing?
here
Hi,
again.
Vlad, Anna. Good to see you again.
Hi.
So my question is, do you think that the women's basketball has the same support as men basketball? Like if we're talking about Morocco, 75 of our coaches, if you ask them if they want to coach men or women's, they would choose men's, of course. So what do you think?
Uh, can you unmute,
Okay.
Shami? Yeah, okay, good.
All right. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think it's been this shift. I think it's really changing. Of course, men's basketball has been around way longer than the women's game, as we know, professionally. The dunks, the highlights, but it's been amazing watching the women's game grow. And a lot of my NBA friends who played, a lot of them are coaching. They're like, man, I love coaching the women more. And they're actually helping grow the game. It's exciting. We have a new we basically have our own business team now. Before we were really we were operating under the NBA umbrella. Now it's like our separate thing, so we're able to do more marketing deals. As you saw, the salary increase for women, and that's just a way, a good way to go. But yeah, man, they gotta give the women some love over there. it, it's an opportunity to build something great. People a lot of people don't understand starting at the ground and building some. So you can look back one day, and if you have daughters or something, be like, man, you know what? I remember being a part of this and helping it grow.
And continuing this question, in Europe, women basketball is bigger than in US. I mean,
Yes.
it's more attractive. Lots of players from US are going to play. Why you think is what's missing there?
Man, meaning why it's bigger in Europe?
Yeah, I mean something
Man,
in US, so that like maybe short period of the league or money or what's
oh man, I just think so many other distractions and so much stuff like this going on. I loved playing abroad, and I know sometimes I'm like, maybe I enjoy playing abroad more than I enjoyed playing here in the States, just because of less of a distraction to other things. And then it's like these small towns or whatever, and it's just this people are loyal, this loyal feeling for your club and to support them. And it's not just one team, they're going for the soccer, then they go to the next season and they're willing to like fight the other team. it's a it's a different intensity and a different pride, and it's to the point where I can't even, it's I can't even compare the two because they're so different. And then you're playing in the States here, we're playing in these big arenas, 20 something thousand plus, and that many people are not, necessarily coming to the game. So it's all this like empty space sometimes. Yeah. Whereas when you're abroad, you're in these small places and it's like, you can feel the fans, you feel the excitement. So I don't know, it's very different, and both are impactful in their own way. Here, and you could probably tell me, here in the States, of course it's about marketing. It's about brand, the branding piece. I don't know if it's like that to that extent overseas. You could probably educate me on that, because I knew I just went and I played. And sometimes maybe I didn't understand, or, especially with the language barrier, some places, what was really going on.
Yeah, they have some marketing stuff as well, but the game is growing very, the women game is growing very well in Europe, in Russia.
You know what? One thing for sure, Anna, if you guys in WNBA will start playing soon before the NBA, all the eyes will be on you. Because, for example, I could tell you, last week I was watching soccer games of the German league that I don't know anything about, just because they're playing. So I think that, this might be a good opportunity for sports that are not as popular in the United States to become suddenly very popular.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we go to next question from Mehdi. So I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I want to know what it takes to become an exceptional player. Also, as father and coach, how can I help her to become so?
Well, first of all, it's going to take practice, and building a healthy relationship, because you know how it is coaching your kids sometimes. And I have a lot of friends that experience this. We're guilty of living vicariously through your child. So you want to make sure that he or she actually enjoys it, keeping it fun, but understanding the hard work, and a lot of kids nowadays struggle with that. They want the end result. They have to understand it's not just practice when you're with the team. You have to want to practice on your own, dribbling, shooting, in order to want to even have a chance to get at that level. It's a small percentage, as we know, that actually get to move on to professional sports. But for me, when I was younger, I really was in a position and I was talented to just enjoy it. High school, I really enjoyed just being with my teammates. It was a lot of fun. And my family, they were not just, you have to do this, you have to do that. They just came to the games and cheered for me and made sure if I wanted to practice that I had the things that I needed. But it's internal. I think I became successful because I wanted to and I worked on it.
We have question from Mahmoud Hebi again about almost the same. For what advice do we have for the girls players age 12, 14, and 16, 18? So what's the main thing for them to do?
Of course, I could say practice, work on your skills, the things that you're not good at. Those are the things that you should probably work on the most. But it's just understanding the pass of the game, how we're building this equity. I think a lot of young ladies here, I go into a gym and I said, oh, okay. Oh, what do you guys want to play? Oh, we want to play the WNBA, or we want to do this. Okay, name me 5 players in the WNBA outside of Elena Delle Donne, Candace Parker. I don't know. How do you not know? How can you want to go someplace and you don't know the pioneers, the past? When I was younger, I knew I remember learning about the Brazilian players that were playing, and I knew all about the Teresa Edwards, all these players. And I didn't say no women's, I knew men's too. So I became a student of the game, and that's what you have to become. It's easy to go out there and physical, not easy, but physical, getting out there on the court and doing the drills and stuff. That's work, but understanding, watching, and saying, okay, I'm a big guard, so I want to practice. I want to be a guard like Chamique, but I have to figure out what she does well in her game and add it to mine. The greatest player, Michael Jordan, said every offseason, I added something new to my game, so I could become better. And so I took that mindset. Like in the off season, I'm like, okay, I'm good at this. Let me try to get better in that, because I hated playing defense. I was just naturally gifted because I was tall and I had long arms. And so I just really was like, man, let me really work on these foot speed drills and having this intensity, because I took pride in me scoring. I don't want to score 20 points and my players score 20 points also. It just takes away from it. So I don't know, just having that mindset, that winner's mentality.
Yeah, all right, I see. Thank you. So we have a question from Kenya, from Jude Titus. Holdsclaw, you are such an inspiration even to the boy child out there, especially in Nairobi, Kenya, and Africa. How have you dealt with or deal with racism?
Oh man, that's a ever evolving thing, and it's really difficult, because I always tell people, like, all right, I've went to these like great schools, and I'm always like the minority, and it's always that place of acceptance. It's like, oh, that's Chamique. Oh, she, I'm not a threat, as I would say, because they are around me. But I understand the power in that is to educate people. And I learned that honestly from playing overseas, because when I would go to these places, some of them never saw a Black person or a person like with my hair or whatever. And they would just like stare. And then I learned to like have conversation. What is it you want to ask me? Let's talk. Black people are just not like what you see on television. That's not necessarily real life. And we learn. And a lot of times now my friends are like, oh my God, I had this whole idea of what, Americans were, especially people of color. And you're not like that. And you help me see the world. And so in bringing that mindset is education is the key, right? So bringing that to my community, and uplifting others that look like me. And also when I'm having platforms, because I get to have those platforms, is telling people how their fear affects me, and it affects people that look like me. So it's a ever evolving thing where you just have to have tough conversations. And right now in the US, we're having a lot of those conversations, and it gets uncomfortable for some. But I'm realizing that now that it's out on the table, I'm realizing in my circle of friends, which is very diverse, you're finding a lot of allies and people that want to bring about change. And so that's the key, in this country. I mean, it hasn't even been, what is it? Dad, is it like 60 years, not even 60 years since the civil rights movement. So it's still relatively young, but it's just people that have a voice, these activists out there working tirelessly, wanting change. So hopefully we get there.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Right.
We have two questions, very interesting questions, from Patila Sadurian. She's from Lebanon, and she participated in one of our exchange programs. She's a young girl playing basketball in Lebanon, Beirut. So she's asking how much you have suffered from your social life because of basketball.
Oh, voila, a lot. That is a great question. I, even growing up, I didn't get to just like hang out and have summers with my friends. I had to play AAU basketball, organize activities to get to my end goal. And so it's tough. It's a sacrifice. If you want something, sometimes you got to sacrifice. And I gave up a lot. And I know it can be hard, because when you have those moments when you want to connect with those friends, you feel you're there, but you feel so disconnected because they're spent more time together. And the flip side of it is that you get to really build a relationship, sisterhood with your teammates and stuff. But I get it. It's socially, it's really a drag. So you're not the only one that's experiencing that. I went through it.
Perfect. So she has another question, which is, I
Uh-huh.
think, a better question. How can
Okay.
someone become a professional player when they are living in a non-professional country where there is not enough support for this sport? Like,
Wow, man. The diamond in the rough, right? You gotta you have to do things that really make yourself stand out. And I feel now that it's more opportunities because of social media. I think the internet really plays a key. So, making tapes, contacting different teams, a lot of young players do highlight tapes. I've gotten opportunities from other countries. I know here with my friends that coach college coaches, they get a lot of international kids, and it could be something from sometimes competition, someone sending in the tape or whatever. So there's a chance. Don't just be like, oh, I live in this small place, I don't have any exposure. You gotta put the pedal to the metal, keep working on your game, send out footage, contact people, and build relationships. And as you see now, I mean, through these Zooms, through this conferences, with the changing of the world, this is where it's at.
yeah. So we finished with questions, but Shamika, we have here our friend that came with us to Colombia in exchange program. Chastity Melvin is here.
Hey,
She's
Chastity.
now in Loyola, and I would like her to say a couple of words. Chastity, can you hear us? Let's see. Chastity. Uh, Chastity. Okay. Okay, maybe she'll come
Hey
back.
everyone.
Oh, she's here. Okay. Hi.
Hey, I
Hey,
just stopped
Chaz.
by to support you guys. What's up, Meek?
Hey, what's up, Chaz?
How's everything? You're a mama now, so I can't relate to you anymore. I mean, at all. I mean, like,
Congratulations on the job and stuff. Maybe you see them banners behind me. Y'all got the pressure to hang them banners.
there's no pressure right now. It's just, it's just learning. But yeah, I just dropped in to say hello to everyone. I've been on Zoom meetings all morning. But Meek, I'm starting a podcast, so you got to come on my podcast.
Oh, definitely. Send me the information.
But it was great. It was great. I was listening in and doing different things. But shout out to Vlad, all you guys. So I was just stopping in to say hello.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
I will go back to
Thank,
Vlad.
thank you, Chastity. And if you have, information about the podcast, we could actually, give it to everybody who attends this webinar and all our network, and the same thing with the State Department, just to keep in touch with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you send us the information, we could spread the word about the podcast.
Okay, all right. Yeah, definitely. And also follow two alliances, two organizations that one is JED Foundation, JED Foundation, and it's for wellness and emotional health with youth. And I'm an ambassador for that organization, as well as an alliance, Same Here Alliance. So Same Here Alliance is a bunch of athletes who've come together to create change in the mental health space. And so those are both near and dear to my heart. If you want to check out my podcast, it's on Apple or Spotify. It's called Tremendous Upside. Shout out to American Public Media, who gave me that platform. It is me interviewing former athletes, great athletes of our time, and their struggles with emotional health. And so it's really a positive piece, because you look at the statistics and the things that these athletes have done. And for me, I'm also learning about them because I saw their amazing play, but I didn't know that they was dealing with these things. And so check it out. And if you want to follow me in my adventures, you can find me on Instagram, mainly Instagram and Twitter, and that's CHOLD1. And just, continue to support, continue to spread the word to other people that you may know that have similar journeys to myself, and empower them. So this was awesome. Any more about it?
Um, sure. So you said at some point that if it wasn't for sports, people may not have been able to see your struggle, and this leads me to actually trying to invite Ryan Murphy from the State Department to say a few words because I think that that's the whole idea of this public diplomacy sports programs. To use sports as a tool in your life is a perfect illustration of how important sports have been to give you a voice, to advocate for important causes, and to make a difference in people's lives. So I saw both Ryan and actually Ashley also a little bit earlier, but I think Ashley is not with us anymore. But maybe Ryan could say a few words about in general about the programs. And if you have any questions, Ryan, please do. So let's hope that we could connect with Ryan towards the end of our webcast.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chamique. It's such an inspiring story, obviously, on such a topic that most people try to shy away from and don't like to bring to the forefront. So thank you very much for doing that.
Appreciate it.
One real quick question. Obviously, you've been involved in some of the State Department programs. You traveled to Morocco in 2018 on one of the World Learning Programs. You also went out as a sports envoy to Senegal in 2012, as well as other trips. And you alluded to it a little bit earlier that you walked away from the trip to Colombia, kind of learning more about yourself and taking more away than you felt like you gave to everyone that you interacted with. How have some of the other trips that you've taken overseas, aside from playing overseas and going to the Olympics, how have some of these people-to-people exchange trips really impacted your life, and what have you taken away from those trips that you can share with others?
Well, I think the first thing, like growing up here in New York in the inner city, and being in the situations where it was like low resource. And when I go on these trips, especially one that sticks with me is the Senegal trip. Here we are, at the grassroots. We were in those gyms with no AC. Seeing how some of the kids didn't have the proper gear, but this connection, this love, of sports, this excitement that they had. And maybe they didn't know anything about the career, but this human compassion and nurturing, like, oh my God, you're a basketball player, this excitement, you're different for me. And this building this bond. And it's interesting because I have now, again, with social media, some of the kids that have contacted me over the years, some of the adults over there with the embassy that have kept in contact about the programs they're doing. And it builds this community of support. And it's just, you're just giving, you're passing on, you're giving back. But again, like I said, Ryan, I walk away with just a different understanding, a different compassion, like, being more compassionate and energized to help really change, someone's life by giving them opportunity they didn't necessarily foresee.
Perfect. And really that's the reason why we do these programs. It's to bring communities together and to have those underserved, underprivileged communities overseas meet an American for the first time and really hear your story and vice versa. When we bring the groups to the US, a number of the people that are on this webinar are exchange participants of a lot of these programs. So they've been able to experience it firsthand. So it's great to hear your story and what impact it has had on your life. So hopefully if you're willing and able and want to go out again as a sports envoy and do more of these trips, we're happy to have you involved.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Once we can all travel again freely, right?
Exactly. Hopefully it'll stop being virtual at some point and we can actually get in person again and really start to play basketball again and get out on the court.
Definitely.
This idea of going out makes me very optimistic. So it's very good at the beginning of the day to hear that going out is an option. So Chamique, I want to thank you very much for being with us. I don't know if Ashley is still with us. Ashley is also running webinars of the sports diplomacy division, and they're extremely exciting. Every Wednesday, as far as I know, to receive from Ryan and Ashley advertisements about those webinars. We are trying our best to again, during this time of crisis and unusual time in all our lives, to bring to our audiences stories that are relevant. And I cannot think, from the people that we know, that we are in touch with, that participate in our programs, of a person, better equipped than Chamique to bring something so relevant into our lives. So, Chamique, thanks so much for being with us. And again, as Ryan said, let's hope that this will end soon, and we'll meet in person, and then from the next exchange, you'll bring the baby, hopefully. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Promise?
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
So back to Anna.
Okay,
Right.
thank you, Chamique. It's really appreciated, and it's always, inspiring to talk to you, to be next to you, and thank you again for showing everybody how inspiring your story is. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah, sure, thank you, and hope we will meet again on webinars and very soon in person.
All right.
I want also to thank Ryan and Vlad for being with us today, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, all participants. One more time, I want to remind you that this webinar was arranged by World Learning and Digital Communication Network and supported by Sports Diplomacy. So stay in touch, follow Chamique on social media, follow DCN on social media, and you will know about our next webinars. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.